Alrighty, so as I've been doing over this week, into last week, I'm going to take another look at where we're at today towards the end of the day as the news filters through. And I want to discuss something that some people have been talking about since the official retirement of Roberto Luongo, the cap recapture penalty. So the Canucks signed Luongo to this insanely long contract, 12 years. The cap hit was $5.33 million, which was insanely cheap considering he was the best goaltender in hockey, arguably, but best goaltender in hockey. And it was a cap hit that Gillis got in there, even though Luongo made $10 million the first year of the contract. Yeah. So he makes $10 million the first year, and from 2011 2012 through 2017 2018, he made about $6.71 million a year. There's a minor difference in there between two seasons, but it's not a big difference. $6.71 million every year. So you do the math. The cap hit was much, much lower because the season we just finished, he made $3.38 million, and then it dives badly. So 2019-2020, he would have made $1.61 million, and the following two seasons, it's $1 million apiece. So by retiring now, he's made almost all of that money. He is sacrificing $3.61 million over 3 years. By retiring now, he helps Florida under the cap. And Canuck fans are mad because now we've got the recapture of $3.03 million for the next 3 years. They had been paying $800,000 in retained salary. So they retained $800K in salary, so the salary cap hit for Florida was $4.5 million. And now that he retires, it's less than that for them. So the cost goes up for Vancouver by $2.2 million and a cap penalty of $3 million above $800K they were paying him. And there's some fans who are quite enraged about this. And the league should be fought with, and the Canucks need to appeal this, and they should make him go to a doctor and prove he can't play anymore, blah, 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 blah. The fact is, Mike Gillis tried to get around the cap. The league caught him. Yes, this was a legal contract at the time it was signed. That changed coming out of the last collective bargaining agreement, and NHL owners and GMs said, yeah, we can't do this anymore. And contracts like this were penalized. Marian Hosos was another one, where if he had retired, it was the same deal. You know what? And people are mad about this recapture and $3 million. And you know what? It's a $2.2 million penalty. To me, it's the same as a buyout. I'll treat it like it's another buyout. We knew this was probably going to happen. And the penalty right now is not as bad as it would have been if he retired 2 years ago. So it's an annoyance. But if anybody thinks, well, good, this way the Canucks won't go in on Tyler Myers, no. That doesn't necessarily mean they're not going to go after Tyler Myers. It means for anybody who's like, yeah, we're going to get Panarin, the answer was always no, but now it's a hard no. Panarin wasn't coming here. There was no way Panarin was going to be a Vancouver Canuck. So Luongo's recapture to me is fine because they tried to get around the salary cap by having this backdiving contract that started at $10 million a year and ended with $1 million a year over the last 2 years. I remember when that contract was signed and everybody said the same thing. Luongo will retire in 2019, but it's fine because the cap hit we're getting is fantastic. And the Canucks had a fantastic cap hit, a low cap hit with Luongo for years, and that's the price you pay. Does this contract suck? I'm thinking he may not think so right now. He made his money, and he left 3 years on the table, but it was only $3 million he left on the table. And he saves his body from going through 3 training camps to get it. So that's in a nutshell how that worked for Vancouver. And for Florida, it's nowhere near. It's not even worth really getting into. Florida's fine. Aho's drawing interest. Teams have reached out to Sebastian Aho. So this is how this is going to work. The restricted free agents. We've talked about maybe there'll be some kind of offer sheets coming up. Now, Aho has stated he doesn't want to go anywhere but Carolina. But if rumors of them not being all that close, he wants $9.5 million over 5 years. That's rumored to be the ask. The 5 years would be problematic for Carolina, who would be looking for a long-term 8-year contract, and $9.5 million. From what I've heard, maybe as much as $1.5 million more than what they offered him. So that's a lot of money and term. If you combine those two things, that means they're not really close. There's a team out there that will offer him exactly what he wants. And, kind of think of this like going on Shark Tank or Dragon's Den, where you're out there and you got the sharks. And basically these owners are like sharks and general managers doing the job for them. And you may not get the shark you want to work with, but you may get the exact amount you're asking for, and you're going to put your name down on it. Or at the very least, you'll agree to it, and then maybe the shark you want, and in this case, it would be the Carolina Hurricanes, say, fine, we'll match. And then you go over and you shake hands and the deal's done. It's going to be an interesting offseason for that. So Aho's drawing interest. And the other one that's drawing interest, apparently, is Kyle Connor. Not Laine. Connor had a great season. Connor and Laine are likely asking about the same amount. And Connor has shown he has a multifaceted game. He is a fantastic player. Laine, tons of potential. Could be a 50-goal scorer, but at 30 this year. And that'll warn some GMs off who aren't going to want to spend the amount you'd have to so that the Jets wouldn't want to match. And that's what we're looking at here. We're looking at a Carolina team who may financially say we'd love to keep Aho, but that's a lot of money. And we may be looking at a Jets team that says, wow, they're paying Connor what? We can't afford that if we're going to stay under the cap. And so you may end up with some uncomfortable situations coming out of this. Because, again, there's no point in a GM sending an offer sheet if you know people are going to match. It's part of the reason why I'm not all that curious about Marner. Because the Leafs are going to match. Unless you are willing to spend the kind of money on Marner that's just not worth it. Now, Provorov and the Flyers, at last report, are not close. Provorov wants some money that the Flyers aren't willing to part with. So that could be an issue. I'm not saying Provorov necessarily gets an offer sheet. I don't think he qualifies for one. But not everybody qualifies for an offer sheet. But Provorov is an interesting situation. Because he is, to me, he's their anchor on the blue line. You can argue about who their most important blue liner is. To me, it's Provorov. Without Provorov on that blue line, I think they're in some serious trouble. So he's in my mind, they're having to prove he's not worth what he's asking for. I don't know the ask, but they kind of have to prove he's not right, because without him, their blue line is in trouble. There's a lot of talk about Panarin and the Avs, and rumor has it Panarin may not be meeting with Colorado this week. There may not be a lot of interest in Panarin because Sakic doesn't want to spend $11 million on Panarin and then a couple years down the road have trouble keeping somebody else he's already got. So his main concern may be keeping Rantanen, making sure he keeps this team intact, maybe add a couple of guys in free agency. But apparently, and this is what's being reported in a couple of sites I've checked, they may not be in on Panarin. So that's kind of a surprise. And then this was mentioned, and people have been talking about it in the comments. Yes, Brett Connelly has met with the Edmonton Oilers. Yes, it's a matchup that would seem to make a lot of sense. He had 20-plus goals this year. He had 22 and 46 points. I still think you could see a fallback in his stats, but if he signed with Edmonton, if he's playing with McDavid or Draisaitl, that'll probably keep him in the 20, 25, maybe even 30-goal range. So it might be one of those situations where Connelly is looking at a situation and saying, you know what, coming out of Washington, I want a chance to play more. Edmonton needs help on the wing. I've got 20 goals. I can parlay this into a lot of money. They need that scoring. I like money. I like getting an opportunity to earn more money. So this may actually work out very, very well if indeed that's where he ends up landing. There will be other teams that come calling. Part of what hurts Canadian teams is the tax difference. This is why teams in certain states do very, very well with free agents, because you save yourself a ton of money on taxes. And it can be really substantial. So you may have two contracts that are identical, let's say offered by Edmonton and offered by Nashville, but in reality, that money from Nashville, you're going to keep more of it in your pocket than you're going to with Edmonton due to a tax difference. So we'll see how things turn out. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, as always. And going back to the initial, the initial discussion, which is Luongo's recapture. That was part of the deal when they signed the contract. And you know, when you sign a contract that you know you're using to circumvent the cap, there's a risk. And there was always talk about the NHL wanting to penalize those contracts. So that's why you can't see contracts structured that way anymore. There's a restriction in terms of the upper and lower values that you can have on a contract because of contracts like Luongo's and Marian Hossa's. So again, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I think this is the last of the news for today. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.